Good evening and welcome to our special broadcast, A New Era in Indian Sport. And why we are saying a new era, a game changer, because of a landmark development in Indian sport. Parliament has passed the National Sports Governance Bill and it is being called a turning point, aiming to bring transparency, accountability and athlete-centric reforms in how sports are run in the country. How will this be a game changer? Will it truly empower athletes, and what will be the biggest impact? To answer all these questions, we have an elite panel with us. They'll be joining us soon. Let's get it started. All right, so Sports Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia describes it as the single biggest reform in Indian sports since independence. It establishes a National Sports Board to oversee federations, a National Sports Tribunal for dispute resolution and a National Sports Election Panel for fair elections. Let's take a look at this report, then we'll start the discussion.
The National Sports Bill seeks to regulate various sports administrators in India, while the Anti-Doping Amendment Bill provides greater operational independence to the country's anti-doping agency NADA as prescribed by the World Anti-Doping Agency WADA. Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia described the bills as transformative measures designed to promote ethical governance, support athletes and ensure accountability across India's sports organizations.
स्पोर्ट्स गवर्नेंस बिल के लिए कई बार प्रयास करा गया, भूतकाल में भी प्रयास हुआ और अभी वर्तमान समय में मोदी जी ने अच्छी बात कही है कि हमें इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड का वर्ल्ड क्लास बेस्ट एक्सीलेंस के साथ हमारी तैयारी होनी चाहिए। और जब आने वाले दिनों में भारत ओलंपिक्स के लिए बिड करने जा रहे हैं, वैसी स्थिति में भारत में स्पोर्ट्स इकोसिस्टम रोबस्ट हो, दुरुस्त हो, पारदर्शी हो, अकाउंटेबिलिटी वाली हो, उस दिशा के प्रयास का ये महत्वपूर्ण कदम है।
The National Sports Board will have overriding powers to grant or suspend recognition of all national sports federations and even collaborate with the international federations for athlete welfare. National Sports Tribunal will have the powers of a civil court and decide disputes ranging from selection to election involving federations and athletes. Once instituted, tribunal's decisions can only be challenged in the Supreme Court. This too shall be appointed by the central government on the recommendation of the National Sports Board. The panel will act as electoral officers to oversee the elections to the executive committees and the athletes committee of the sports bodies. All recognized sports organizations which are dependent on government funding and support will be covered under the Right to Information Act 2005. Athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and more have hailed it as a long overdue reform to bring good governance and protect athlete interests.
The passing of the National Sports Bill is a big victory for all of us athletes. It will strengthen our dream and brighten the future of sports. We sincerely thank the government for this historic step.
I believe this act greatly benefit Indian sport in two major areas. One, through forming National Sports Board, which will have the authority to grant or cancel registration or recognition of a organization, sports organization. This board will also have the authority to audit, to ensure if the body is not functioning properly, to constitute ad hoc committees, also to see that the sports must have ethics and safe sports policy.
Overall, Sports Governance Bill is meant to improve coordination between sports federations, athletes and the government. Sports Desk, DD India.
Also joining me on the broadcast are from the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. We have the Joint Secretary, Department of Sports, Mr. Kunal. Welcome, Mr. Kunal. Welcome to our special broadcast. Also will be joining us from the administration side, President of the National Rifle Association of India, Kalikesh Narayan Singh Dio, and will also be joined by Anish Bhanwala, who is Olympian and CWG gold medalist too. Mr. Kunal, first of all, it's a big sigh of relief for everyone. It has taken a little longer, but yes, now it has been passed. Tell us, how big is this and what are the concrete reforms this bill brings to the table, and how soon will athletes actually start feeling the difference?
Thank you. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. This bill is a landmark moment in Indian sports governance, I must say. And for the first time, we are putting in place a comprehensive legal framework to ensure transparency, accountability, safe sports, and athlete-centric policies in entire sports ecosystem. Our efforts are to ensure that athletes get the due they deserve, and it is ensuring mandatory athlete representation in federation, time-bound dispute resolution. If you see today, we are having many number of cases in different courts across the country relating to either elections or selections or miscellaneous matters, and that is hampering the sports development in the country, and also it affects our performance and preparations for major events like Olympics or Asian Games. So this bill is going to have a stable set of regime for sports governance, defining clear-cut age and tenure guideline for the sports administrator, ensuring that the federations focus on governance, on the development. They recognize athletes' right, ensure protection from the abuse, harassments, and arbitrary selections. And we are hopeful that very soon the entire ecosystem will adapt to the bill, and athletes will see a completely new ecosystem which will be beneficial for our future when they are preparing for Olympics, when they are preparing for Asian Games, or when they are starting their athletic career. They will see the difference.
All right, athletes will soon see the difference. Mr. Kalikesh Narayan Singh Dio is also with us, and Anish is also with us. Welcome, both of you. Mr. Dio, from Federation's point of view, do you think this legislation strikes a right balance between autonomy of federations and government oversight? Do federations see this bill as supportive?
Look, we have to congratulate the sports minister for bringing clarity into what became a very muddled situation for sports administration before the bill was passed. There was the sports code which was interpreted as the law by the courts. You know, it was at many points quite unreasonable and quite unimplementable. So the minister and his department and his team have brought in a bill which is simple, which aims to strike a balance between the rights of federations to govern the sport and the rights of the government, or for that matter, athletes who are involved as stakeholders, whether they are funders or they are the core centers of performers for sports in general. Now, having said that, this bill has just recently been passed, and we are still awaiting the rules and the interpretations that will evolve over time. I'm sure that once the law is settled, will go a long way in ensuring clarity for the path forward for sports administration and sports in India. One of the many good things in this bill is the fact that there are sportsmen who have achieved something for the country, who will be involved mandatorily in sports administration going forward, including current athlete. As far as NRI is concerned, we already have these policies in place. And we already have an athletes committee and an athletes commission which works. But there are federations which can use this, because we as sports administrators must be very clear. The aim of a sports federation is to ensure the growth of sports and to ensure that we become athlete-centric and to ensure that we win medals and perform our best in international events, be it Asian Games or the Olympics.
From athletes' point of view, Anish Bhanwala, always good to have you, always good to talk to you, Anish. How important is it that athletes now get a stronger voice in decision-making? We want to know your take on this bill, purely speaking from an athlete's point of view.
Yeah. First of all, I'll congratulate the sports minister and the government for bringing up the new sports bill. And I believe this is a very high time that like we are bidding for the Commonwealth Games and the 2030 Olympics. So at the very in 2025 we have the bill, and then we'll have the act. And for the athletes' point of view, I just recently read that in the um, executive committees there will be fixed percentage for the athletes, and also for the athlete commission. Like as Kalikesh sir mentioned, we already have all things very well organized in the NRI, but it will be helpful in all other federations.
Absolutely. But Kunalji, I mean, I know it's a tedious process, must have been a tedious process. Drafting the framework of this legislation must have been a long and complex process. Tell us, what was the biggest challenge?
In fact, if you see the entire sports ecosystem, it is run in a pyramidal fashion. At the apex is the International Olympic Committee. Then they recognize international federations. In turn, they recognize National Olympic Committee, national federations. So we have to ensure that our bill is aligned with the international governance framework. We should not be at fault with the international bodies' rules and regulations. So we know that sports is run through Olympic Charter primarily, and then international rules and regulations, framed by the different international federations. So we were very consciously drafting when we started the process last year around same time or slightly before that. And we ensure that the Olympic Charter is fully respected. And if you see our bill, it is mentioned time and again that the bills and rules and regulations, everything will be aligned with the Olympic charters and international statutes. And we also had multiple round of consultations with the international bodies. And we have to see that when we are drafting the bill, it has to ensure that there should be a balance between autonomy and accountability.
Yes.
The aspirations of our players, our citizens, the parents, the guardian, everyone, because sports is a public movement. It belongs to everyone. When an athlete is playing, they play for India. So whole nation's aspirations are associated with that. So when we see our diverse sporting culture, different size of federations, the structure, the maturity, if you see rifle, Mr. Kalikesh is president of that. So Rifle Association is quite well developed, but if you compare with some other federations, the maturity level, the development stage is different stage, because every sports is having its own trajectory. So when we are drafting the bill, we were very mindful of not only the diversity of, like rules and regulation, the culture, but also the different stages of development a particular discipline is. And if you see that, let me tell you the consultations we had put the draft bill last year in 10th of October. And then we, under the directions and leadership of our Honorable Minister, we had multiple rounds of meeting with different stakeholders, like Indian Olympic Association, National Sports Federations, the players, the coaches, the sports lawyers, those who are engaging in the courts. And then we had also put it in the public domain. So we had received more than 700 feedback.
Okay.
Simultaneously, we were also discussing with the international bodies and combining together all the feedbacks we presented before the Honorable Parliament, and they deemed it fit to pass.
Biggest thing, Kunalji, it aligns with the Olympic Charter. Also, Mr. Kalikesh, we got to agree to this. That some federations have resisted in the past. Hope there are no apprehensions now, and hope implementation will not be a challenge.
Not from my side at all. Yeah. I'm a big supporter. Look, I completely agree with what the Joint Secretary is saying. To frame a bill which can encompass soccer, team sports like soccer and hockey, which are very well developed, individual sports or semi-individual sports like shooting with multidiscipline and athletics, and to take in, the younger sports which may be still developing in our country, to try and put in a framework which can carry all these federations together is not an easy task at all. So there's a mix between that, and that's why I'm sure when the rules come out that they will provide more clarity on how the government plans to take this forward. But having said that, there's no question that the federation must be accountable. We get a lot of funding from the government of India, and we must be able to be demonstrate our bona fide and as well as our accountability to the government. The funding is for the athletes, it's for the sports. There is no question of misusing that or squandering that funding in any manner which doesn't help the sports or the athletes. I think that's the key barometer for sports federation and sports governance. And again, I congratulate the government for doing that. The fact that it will hopefully eliminate a lot of lawsuits and legal complexities which were happening in sports governance, which was a hindrance earlier, is a much required reform. I think these are the two key takeaways I would take away from the bill. And yes, there was a lot of consultation with athletes, with coaches, with us as federations, with our international bodies. I think they've done a very good job. And I'm hoping, as far as NRA is concerned, they have a full support. The government has a
Right. Hope every federation is in support. But one thing I personally liked about the bill is the sports tribunal, setting off the tribunal. Anish, this bill talks about a dedicated sports tribunal to settle disputes quickly, fast track. How significant do you think this move is for the athletes?
Definitely, sir. It's a good thing because in couple of years, sometimes we see there's a fight clashes between the selection policy or for some particular competition. And it's just like the selection happens 1 or 2 months before the competition. So these things need to be taken care at very priority. So now if we have a special tribunal, it will be helpful for the athletes at sometimes.
Kunalji, how will the government ensure the compliance? That will be a challenge, I know, especially since many federations have resisted reforms earlier in the past. And also, how quickly will athletes see a difference on the ground, at the grassroots level?
Yes, this is in continuation to the previous question you asked about, how this bill was made.
Yeah.
Like this bill was made with detailed consultation and consensus with not only the national federation but also their international bodies. I must say that almost every federation is aligned with the aims and objectives of this bill, and they are eagerly waiting for it. There is a greater demand. In fact, like we are getting continuous inquiries from different federations as to how they have to ensure. See, once a bill is made, it is converted into act, and thereafter rules and regulations are framed. Right now, the biggest task for the ministry is to frame the rules for different components to function, and thereafter we are hopeful that all the federations, all the stakeholders will adopt it, because nobody is losing it in it. It is a win-win situation for everyone, be it the administrator, be it the athletes. There is a proper, this bill has addressed the sports ecosystem in totality. And there is no reason why any federation will resist change.
Okay.
Or because the aims and objectives of everyone is same, to see India at top. Our Honorable Prime Minister gave a clarion call to be among the top 10 in the 36 Olympics, and when we celebrate 100 years of independence in 2047, be in top 5. For that, we need to have reforms. We need to have the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And then this bill has been drafted, keeping athletes in the picture. And we are ensuring, as I said, that ensuring representation of athletes, be it senior athletes in form of sports person of outstanding merit or current athlete in the management, ensuring a safe and harassment-free sports environment, ensuring clear channel for grievance redressal. When there is a selection trial, then there should be immediate redressal of the grievances of athlete. Nobody should feel that their voices are not heard.
Yeah.
And they should be properly represented through athlete committees. So that way, everyone is eagerly waiting. And for athletes, this entire bill is athlete-centric, especially the females and minors. So the entire ecosystem, as I mentioned, have been taken care of while drafting the bill. And very soon, you will see the difference.
win-win situation for everyone, you are saying, including the athletes. Mr. Kalikesh, from athletes' point of view, does this bill truly mark a turning point in athletes' life?
I think so. I think, there are many federations where the athletes don't have a say. I know Anish can pick up the phone and call me anytime and call me out in any meeting and tell me what he thinks is correct or not.
And he's smiling there.
Yeah. That's why he's smiling.
Yeah, exactly. That happens.
But there are many federations where, unlike shooting, which is a measurable sport, and our selection is based completely on the trial scores or the previous scores, and we don't deviate from that policy in any manner unless there is a absolute necessity to do so because of lack of space for shooters or something like that. But having said that, there are many sports which are not completely measurable. And there are, a lot of athletes feel that they should have been in a team or they should have been in the camp or in a certain competition, and they're not being sent. And there are allegations of misconduct sometimes by the officials. I think this bill attempts to clear that. The tribunals, when they are set up, would be very beneficial, especially for the athletes who, given the system where the federation holds the selection power, the athletes need to be able to speak out without fear and without reprimand. Aisa na ho ki that federation starts taking action on the athletes for speaking out their mind. I think this bill provides a platform for them to speak out, to be heard, and to have justice delivered to them as and when required. I think what is Anish made a very valid point in his statement that for shooting 45 days or 2 months before the competition we have a trials and selection done. But sometimes in other sports, it's a continuous process, and within the trials they select the team, especially in combined team sports. I think these are the key things that the rules can address, and if they do it successfully, then we have a clean slate for Indian sports to be recharged going ahead, and the work should be supreme. That should be the central focus.
Anish, you're the best person to answer this question. Will better governance directly translate into better performance, maybe at the Olympics and world stage?
Definitely, I believe better governance is the very helpful thing which could help Indian sports to grow. I believe Indian athletes we have a lot of huge pool of talent. Talent is never a problem. And now we also have good funding for the grassroots level from last 7-8 years through the Khelo India schemes. And now the better governance policies for all the sports will definitely help, and it can completely turn into a new era of Indian sports.
Mr. Kunal, very quickly, does the National Sports Governance Bill mark the start of a genuine new era for Indian sport?
Yes, definitely. For an athlete, he requires a clear pathway that his efforts are properly measured, his voices are properly heard. For an administrator, they require a clear-cut mandate. If he is working hard, whether his efforts will be recognized when there is election, when there is at the level of the world body. So it is balancing every aspiration. Right now, if you see our international bodies, how many of our administrators are getting represented there? Very few. Reason that there is no transition. Many times we fail to see any transition across years together. So there will be performance which will be rewarded, and also non-performance, there will be weeding out. Now this is what sports is all about, playing the rules, playing for the excellence. This bill is ensuring that grassroots are properly there, structures are there, India should become a sporting nation. And then when it comes to excellence, right athletes, right administrators, right kind of coaches, everyone, the best of the best should be chosen to represent India and lead us to the golden period of Indian sports.
India should become a sporting nation, and that's another step, a major step in this direction. Clearly, the National Sports Governance Bill is being seen as a milestone in India's sporting journey, and the government calls it a game changer, like we discussed also. And the real transformation will depend on strict implementation, and at the end of the day, every reform, every bill, every policy must serve one purpose: giving Indian athletes the best chance to succeed. and this law sets the framework. Thank you, Anish, Mr. Kunal and Mr. Kalikesh Dio for your perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have in our special broadcast. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.